Welcome to The Woolly Way, a podcast specifically for dairy shepherds. That is, folks wanting to raise sheep for the purpose of harvesting milk. We cover all the things pertaining to raising dairy sheep here, be it animal nutrition, housing, healthcare, lambing tips, cheese making, and even some butchery and fiber arts. After all, if you raise dairy sheep, you are going to have wool, and if your operation is successful, you'll eventually have surplus lambs to decide what to do with. Ethical animal husbandry is the focus here, as well as sustainable agriculture. We want to provide you with the information you need to start and continue your dairy sheep operation in the best way possible for you, your sheep, and this amazing world we live in. So grab a nice cup of sheep milk and let's dive in.
Now I feel more prepared with the rest of my sheep. If they are producing a ton and they only have a sow, I will probably milk them more, rather than being like, well, more hands off, I'll wait 4 weeks and then I'll milk you, or I'll wait 2 weeks and milk you. I'm a lot more watchful. It definitely made me a better shepherd. And I'm looking at all of their needs a lot more closely. So I'm grateful for the experience. It was just awful. I mean, that
well, you had a baby at the time too. I mean, you had kind of a full plate at that time. So,
and we had the flu that week. I had a baby. Yeah. And then it was cold and I was getting information. I had called the vet and I had given my sheep garlic, and I don't even want to get into who gives their sheep, whatever, but that's what I did. Okay. I gave my sheep garlic and I called the vet. And she was like, "You're so stupid for giving your sheep garlic." And I was like, yeah. And because she said it kills, whatever. She was going off on me. I literally could not take it anymore. I just listened to her. And when she hung up, I just bawled. I just cried because it was just, I felt like I was failing in every way. I felt like I knew nothing about sheep. I felt like I was just like the worst person for allowing this to happen. And then I realized this is a different breed that not many people know anyway. So I calmed down.
Yeah.
But my gosh, like that's something that I try to tell others too, is like, be careful who you talk to, because it can make you feel like you're the worst person ever. But when you talk to like somebody like you, another homesteader who's like, hey, I've cried too. I had loss. Hey, this is hard. Like, this is hard. And to have the weight of these animals' lives and health on your shoulders is a lot. And so when you go up to somebody and say, "Are you stupid?" you can crack that person into a million pieces.
Yeah.
Just by that.
I don't know. Like, if it were me, I'd be calling that vet office back and be like, I need to talk to the head honcho here, because you do not need to be telling shepherds they're stupid when we're calling and asking for some advice. Just, you don't need to be doing that. But I mean, but you're right. And that's why I wanted to start this podcast. I'm grateful for organizations like Nat says, because, up until the last year, there has been no hub other than, one, maybe two Facebook groups, which Facebook is a whole different animal now than, it even was a couple years ago. So I don't even want to get on it anymore because it's just gotten so crazy. But there just wasn't a place where we could go and be like, let's talk shop with shepherds. Let's talk shop not only with shepherds, but with dairy shepherds. And so, I was really grateful that we were friends at the time when you were going through that, because I think, like, you did call me at one point and you're like, I'm the worst shepherd in the whole world. I failed this ewe. Like, I just need to get over myself. And I was like, I felt the same way last week, like literally a week today. And so you just need a little sleep. Like, really, you just need some sleep. And then we'll figure this out. But, neither you or I at that point. I mean, I didn't even know anyone at that point with that high of a East Frisian producer. Like, since then I've gotten to know someone who has higher producers, but like, I know one person who has a super duper high East Frisian producer. And I know there's more people out there, but again, there was no hub to go to and be like, okay, who has the gallon a day East Frisians? What do you feed them? What do you do? Because, when you talk to the majority of shepherds in America, in Kentucky, I feel like 90% of the shepherds have Katahdins. And if you don't have Katahdins, they're like trying to talk you into getting Katahdins. And which is, I won't get on my Katahdin soapbox today. I'm not going to do that. But there's no excretion hub. Like, there's no one to say when they're putting out that much, they need a source of calcium stat because they're pouring all this into it. And so I think, as I've gotten deeper into the homesteading communities and talking to people about like dairy cows versus meat cows, and there's more discussion there because cows are more commonly kept here, and learning that a lot of these principles transcend species. So I mean, like, obviously there is nuances per species, but there are still principles that go across the board. So I mean, if you have an animal that has been genetically encouraged for hundreds, if not thousands of years to put all their effort into making milk, then you need to treat them differently than an animal that has either just come about through natural selection, like a heritage breed, or has been encouraged to express its genetics in like a Dorper's ways or something like that. I mean, the dairy genes have a unique set of needs, and with the whole sustainability movement and wanting to get back to like how nature does things or regenerative agriculture, there's these sets of principles that are good, but you can't just slap them onto a dairy operation and expect those animals to thrive. You just can't. And so it's really good for us to have these kinds of conversations, because it's like, having a high producing Jersey or East Frisian or, these high producers were not meant to thrive in a hands-off management system. If you want a hands-off management system, that's fine. Don't get a high producing animal. They just won't survive in that situation.
Exactly. If you want hands off, get Barbados, because they do fine like that. Like I had a pro, and they were fine. And like, you make a good point. Like, if you look at the sheep in the wild, I often think about the sheep in the wild. How are they breeding? Because that's like line breeding and all of that. I kind of like see how nature does it. But you will not find a sheep in the mountains that gives you a gallon of milk a day. You will not. Absolutely. They don't exist.
You will not find that.
And so it's very different to, I mean, homesteading to me is producing for yourself, self-sustainability, and like all of this. This new time with me with like milking sheep and with the East Frisian, I'm like, I don't know if these are they're not the best homesteading sheep for me in the desert, where I don't have like lush stuff all the time. But I have to understand that, and now I have to support. And just like us in general, as people, as homesteaders, you can grow all you want, but sometimes you're gonna have to go get a pineapple from the store because you can't grow it. Like, you know what I mean? You have to you have to source out and take that into. If somebody came to me and said, I wanted to start milking sheep and I want to have a homestead and be self-sufficient, I would really talk to them about this. Like, how much are you willing to outsource? How much are you willing to buy other feed from other places, unless you're going to grow all your own feed and you're going to make that a whole thing and molasses and all this stuff. But you have to think of these things. You're going to have to buy stuff for your sheep outside of your farm, or have lush fields 24/7 for them. Like, for instance, first cut hay. I had a cow die from first cut hay, alpha, because she could not handle it. These sheep, my East Frisians, want first cut hay, and they're fine. Like, they're fine. They're not gonna blow. They'll eat happily, and they'll eat more if you gave it to them. I mean, that's where I'm seeing the difference of like, whoa, like where am I gonna put my money? Where am I gonna put my time? Where am I gonna put my effort? Because going to Tractor Supply at the last minute looking for calcium, that was me last year, where I was like, oh my gosh, where can I find everything I need like right now? It's hard. So you have to put in spots before and say, okay, you're about to get this breed of sheep. You're going to get a lot of milk. Now think of all the ways to get all your resources, because it's going to cost you one way or another.
Yeah. And I think, because someone messaged me the other day and they were like, okay, I've got this option of sheep or this option of sheep, or these, I've got these purebreds or these crossbreeds or these other crossbreeds or this other crossbreed over here. So which one is the best one for me? And I was like, well, how much property do you have? What's your, what is your topography? What is your climate like? They were in a different part of the country. And I was like, I'm not familiar with that part of the world. And, I was like, I can't tell you which is the best for you. I can help you think through that, but you have to decide, what is your why? Like, what do you want to, what's your primary product? What's your secondary product? And what's your third, because sheep are typically tri-purpose. Do you want to, are you willing to shear? Like, do you have a use for wool? And she was like, well, my primary purpose is milk. And I was like, okay. She's like, and then secondly, I want wool. And I was like, well, then you probably shouldn't do this crossbreed over here. You should do these ones over here. But, just talking with her through that, I realized, in this new homestead tsunami, people are typically asking, well, what is the perfect breed for this one product? And it's like, well, if you're talking amount of daily harvest, then there's one or two breeds that fit that bill. But as a homesteader, we typically want more of a jack of all trades. Most of us are wanting to do chemical free or sustainable or grass based or something like that. And if you want to do that, you are going to have to exchange amount of daily milk harvesting for, hardiness and that kind of stuff. So if you are worried about the wheels falling off and the lights turning out, and 2020 gave you some severe PTSD, and you are looking over your shoulder and you think the end times are right around the corner, maybe don't get a high producing East Frisian, because if you're planning on never going to Tractor Supply again, that is not your breed. But on the flip side, no offense who's in that place, because I certainly have been there. I have a tinfoil hat in my kitchen drawer. So, but you have to think of more than just daily milk yield. You have to think, how much do I want to go to Tractor Supply? How much do I want to invest in learning veterinary skills? I mean, because the bottom line is most of us don't have access to a veterinary who will come out at 2 a.m. when there's a lambing issue. And that's why I can't say that word, because I was up at 2 a.m. and there was no veterinarian to come out to help me make my lambing decision. So,
Want to know more about dairy sheep? Did you know that I write books on the topic? There is my big book, which is published by Sawdust Publishing and is available on my website or Amazon and sawdustpublishing.com. In this volume, The Guide to Homestead Dairy Sheep, you will find everything I wished I knew when I first started raising dairy sheep. I feature other dairy shepherds and go into detail on topics like different breeds for milking, parasite management, milk sharing with lambs, how to set your flock up for the best lambing and therefore milking season possible, and I briefly discuss digestion and nutrition of sheep. Since writing this book, folks have asked me questions about more nuanced topics, so I have begun writing ebooks that are topic-specific that you can purchase on my website and receive as an instant download and print at your convenience. Currently, we have Bringing Your New Sheep Home, which explains in detail our step-by-step method of introducing new dairy sheep onto your homestead and getting them used to you as their shepherd. Since there are currently no dairy-specific hair breed sheep available, dairy shepherds will have to shear their sheep annually and then decide what to do with their wool. Wool has a lot of misconceptions surrounding it, and I want to help shepherds understand that it is a commodity and not a burden. So I wrote my other ebook, 5 Uses of Wool on the Homestead, which is designed to give you practical ideas on how to utilize this amazing product around your homestead the second you shear it off your sheep. The ebooks are only available on my website at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com.
Baby dolls, like we mentioned earlier. Everybody wants a baby doll. Well, right. They may not be good.
Why do you want them besides the cuteness factor? They have nothing to offer besides the cuteness factor, which if you have an Airbnb or agritourism, the cuteness factor will pay your bills. If you're a homestead where you're kind of like me, where you like humans, but then you want to scuttle off into your cave and embrace your inner troll, don't get baby dolls. So
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, they were good eating. I will say they had like good meat and stuff, but people get them because they're cute and they don't want to eat them. So then they
Right.
just end up dying. And then,
And then
yeah,
that's just
but
sad because it's an investment.
exactly, yeah. So it matters. There's so many things that matter. I've had people ask me too, well, what sheep do I have? Or I want an Awasi and I live here. And I'm not like, oh, you only have to live in the desert to get Awasi. That's not the case. It's just you
Sure.
have to think
Yeah.
they can get different parasites in different areas where they wouldn't get that parasite in the
Exactly.
desert. And so
Right.
you have to worm more. You have to do rotational grazing a little bit more efficient. Like the Awat where I'm at, they eat the stickers. I mean, they eat the driest of the driest. They are happy. They are so happy with stickers out of their mouths, and that's because they're made to digest that.
And
I
for
mean,
those who have not lived in New Mexico, when we say stickers, we're not talking about the cute little pictures that have adhesive on the other side of them. We're talking about some plant that came straight out of the pit of hell. It's a ball with spikes that I'm pretty sure medieval weapons were based off of, and they just grow everywhere. It doesn't matter what you do to your lawn. I have picked so many and they'd have these little barb hooks in them. So if you pull it out, there's still 15 stickers in your foot, and you just don't walk barefoot anywhere in New Mexico because there's stickers and then there's goat head thorns, and I don't know which one's worse. But anyway, that's my childhood coming out of the woodwork.
They're horrible. And then now with the spring, so it's windy season now, and I was driving on the freeway. This is just a side note, nothing to do with sheep, but I was driving on the freeway in this certain spot. There's no buildings, nothing, just dirt. And people were just running over these tumbleweeds, and they were getting stuck on cars, and people were swerving, and like that's what we deal with here in New Mexico. When the wind blows, you have tumbleweeds. It's really like the Wild West. Like really the tumbleweeds roll over here.
A tumbleweed killed my parents' minivan. Like a tumbleweed got stuck under the car and sliced the belts, like shredded them. There was no replacing it. It ruined the transmission. It was terrible. So again, the Wild West is actually still a thing. So
it is. And they're big. There's some that are huge. I don't know. I posted a while back during Christmas time. They always post a tumbleweed snowman next to the freeway, and it's just these giant tumbleweeds because we don't get snow very much here. I mean, maybe a couple times a year it'll snow. In the north, it snows a little bit more, but we don't get a lot, and it melts as soon as the sun comes out. It's done. But this huge tumbleweed snowman, it's just like it wouldn't be Christmas without it in Albuquerque. We need it's huge. And but these Awasis, they love these stickers. They love the nightshade, which nightshade is actually toxic. But people are making cheap.
There's a nightshade that grows here in Kentucky. I think I forget the name of it, but we had someone from a local university come out to survey our property, and he saw this plant. He's like, oh my gosh, you got to get rid of this plant. It'll kill all your animals. He brought sheep on our property. They walked right up and just started eating it like it was candy. And I was like, well, there goes my sheep. And I mean, they are fine. It's weird.
Yeah. And they know. I think we really underestimate sheep. I mean, I have a close friend of mine who's like, I hate sheep. They're the dumbest animals ever. They just want to die. And I'm like, you must not know sheep. I mean, all animals can kind of have that rep, I guess. A lot of animals do give up, like a cow. Once a cow lays down and she's sick, she's giving up. Like she's saying, I'm done. So sheep can be that way too. But sheep and animals in general are so smart when it comes to plants and when it comes to what they need. That mineral buffet that I have, they get what they need. I watch them. They walk up to a certain mineral and they get it and they walk away. They know what they're doing. And actually a lot of people are afraid of that nightshade plant. And I went to a cheese workshop this last summer and we made cheese out of it. And I'm like, what do we really know? I mean, it's probably only toxic amount of time.
Yeah.
But like, we really just, we hear something and we're like, I don't want anything to do with it. It is get it out and weed, you weed everything out. And it's like, well, wait, understand the plant. It's not toxic during this time. You can make a food that you can consume out of this plant. The sheep can eat they're fine. You have camels eating full cactuses. Like, come on. Like, God, you know, God really create these animals to survive. And we think they're here 'cause of us, which in a way, yes, but like, no. Like, we're the dumb ones sometimes. You know, we're the ones to watch them.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, it's interesting because people are like, what's the one thing I can do in order to be a good shepherd? And it's like, just go sit with your sheep. And a lot of folks are like, no, but really. And I'm like, no, but really, that's what you do. You go and you sit and just watch your sheep and watch what they're doing. How do they interact? Who's hanging out with who? Like, what parts of your paddock are they avoiding? When are they eating things? When are they not eating things? I mean, yeah, I mean, they will teach you more than any podcast or book is going to teach you. So I think that's very countercultural, and you know, people think that's all weird and woo-woo, but it's like, I'm not saying they're walking up and speaking to me in words that I can understand. Like, I'm not saying that, but if you observe them and observe how they're behaving, you're going to learn a lot from them that way.
Definitely. And there's also a way to do that too. Some people, like for toxic plants, if that's the only thing your sheep have had and they're hungry, they may eat toxic plant if they do not have anything else to eat.
Right.
But whenever you allow them to be sheep and you watch them, they can teach you so much about everything. I mean, I look at my sheep and it's like every day I'm like, something will come to my mind. Just for instance, I let the mamas and the babies go, and the moms went to the food first, and I had them all in a little area, and then I let them out together, and the babies were like, Mom, freaking out. I mean, they really thought their mom was gone forever, and their mom wasn't calling them, and I was like, come on, Mom. I was like, call your babies. Why are you not talking to them? But they just went and they ate and they were calm. And I just decided to watch them. I'm like, these babies are freaking out. They're screaming their heads off. And it just came to me, like, us as moms, we need to
give me my coffee, and then I'll
let me eat this delicious alfalfa that I have laid out here, and I'll get to you later. And they did. As soon as like a little time passed, and some of the babies found their moms, but there was just I had everybody all together, so they got kind of a little tangled a bit. But then the moms went back, and there were wonderful moms talking to their babies. But it just made me think, and that was just my own thing a couple days ago. It was like, hey, they're like us. Like, hold on, kids. I need a break. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to call you back. I just want to eat in peace. Okay.
I have actually learned a lot of parenting skills by watching how my ewes do things. Like, it really has helped me learn boundaries with my son. Just watching the ewes, like the ewes will kick off the lambs sometimes, and lambs are like, we're still hungry, and mom's like, I don't care. You're 3 months old. Grow up. There's hay. And it's like, oh, you know, and again, not to be weird about it, because if your child's hungry, you should feed them food. But I mean, just having like watching how they do it, like, we don't have to instantly entertain our kids. We don't have to respond the second they start crying. Like, they're not gonna die if they learn some self-soothing techniques, if they learn that you can be hungry for a short amount of time. You'll get food eventually, but let me finish this drink of water before I pander to your needs and ignore my own. So
exactly. No, and I learned so much just by those. And it's those little things where you're just like, wow, you're like, okay, that's neat. It's neat to watch these animals interact with each other. And then it's so cute to see all the little lambs play together. And it's really like the mom over here and the lambs are playing. And you really learn so much. And another thing too that they've taught me a lot is the Bible. Like, I don't know, like just my relationship with God. I mean, I don't talk a lot about this just because there's a whole thing, and I know you know some of my history. My dad's a pastor, all this stuff, but my own relationship with God, I have really truly gotten closer to him with sheep. And I say that because he mentions sheep and shepherds so much. It's in from Genesis to Revelation. There is a sheep, lamb in there, I mean, there's so much, but you really see his heart with animals in general. The sheep have like I don't know, it does something to my heart where I'm like, I see God's heart, or like I understand a little bit more, because he's talking about shepherds taking care of these sheep, and I'm taking care of these sheep, so I can understand his message clear because I can see what he's saying. And I mean, like I never had that with other animals. I mean, a little bit. I always watched my animals. I've always had animals, but the sheep are something special to me. And I think most people who have sheep and who like focus on sheep will say that there's just something about them. I have a couple goats.
Not normal people. Like shepherds are just not normal people. like I every time I do a podcast, I come up with another idea for a t-shirt, and so it's like this podcast idea: shepherds are just not normal. But you know, like the other day when we had this really hard call to make with this ewe, and we made it, and the next morning I looked at my husband, I'm like, shepherding is not for wussies. Like you have to be the most gentle person and the most tough person. And as I've become a shepherd, I feel like I've really found my inner steel of this is what I'm willing to put up with, this is what I'm not willing to put up with. And you know, I'm unstoppable because I can get up at 2 a.m. and make a life or death decision and then still function the next day. And like you said, I mean, I feel like my understanding of scripture has deepened far more just keeping sheep than it did even going to 4 years of Bible college. I mean, you know, the whole seeing my sheep not pay attention to any other human's voice. And then if I speak, they all put their heads up and look at me and come running to the gate. Like they know who their shepherd is. And I know my sheep's voices. Like that was one thing I was not prepared for. Like I know which ewe is talking. And I never, you don't hear about that aspect of it, but like our shepherd knows our voice too. Like I can hear them from across the entire farm and I go, that one doesn't make that noise. We need to go check on those sheep. But that one's just talking. She complains a lot. I don't need to go check her. So, you know, it is fascinating dynamic.
Hey guys, I just wanted to interrupt this real quick to give a shout out to our sponsor, the North American Dairy Sheep Association. NADSA is open to any sheep breed or cross used for milking. NADSA supports dairy shepherds and is elevating dairy standards in sheep in America. You can become a member by going to www.northamericadairysheep.org, or you can email the association at northamericadairysheep@gmail.com. I am so thankful to NADSA for sponsoring this podcast and helping me bring more resources to the dairy sheep community. Stay tuned for future podcast episodes where I talk to NADSA board members and the president about what NADSA is trying to accomplish in America for the dairy sheep community.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that part of it. And I will agree, shepherds are not normal people. And I think we see the world in a way different way, but it's because if you're not just sheep owners, you can own sheep and be completely normal.
That doesn't make you a shepherd.
It's these shepherds who are watching their sheep, and like you said, you hear that. My husband sometimes, because he helps me take care of my animals, but I am the one that talks to them, and I fight with them sometimes too. I have a couple ewes where I'm like, oh my goodness, like me and Valentina, we fight. When I milk her, she tries to kick me in the face like a bull. Like she like throws her leg up and like tries to kick me, and it's because she just wants feed. Like if the second it finishes, she's like, don't touch ever. Like she acts crazy. But anyways, my husband is like, he's the bronze, you know, and I'm the one that is there with my sheep, and I know them. And sometimes like we'll be inside and I can hear one and I'm like, oh, like you said, that's not normal. Wait, hold on. And one will be stuck between a fence and the barn, or one will be whatever. It's happened so many times. And he's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, they tell you. They literally are telling you, just like your kid.
They have different voices and they have different tones. I mean, it's really interesting. Like, you know, they'll have a cadence to their baa, but if that baa has a different speed or volume or something, like you can tell when it's a, hey, hurry up and get me the food, or it's, oh my gosh, I'm dying, come check on me, or, you know, something within that scale.
Yeah, and it's the same with my dogs too. My dogs, I have guardian dogs. They bark constantly. I mean, they're just if you come to my house, my dogs bark. It's not that they're going to eat you. They're just going to bark. But they're constantly barking, but I can tell when there's something in the yard. And you know, that just goes when you just stop and pay attention. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do is just pay attention. And even my roosters, I mean, like, they talk to you. The animals do communicate with you. You just have to listen. You have to take note of like, my goat is so loud all the time, and she has this really annoying baa. So I know when I hear her, I'm like, that's just how she sounds. She sounds like she's done. She's not. And then I have others that never baa. So when they do, I'm like, oh, I need to go check. And so much of shepherding is just that, looking at your sheep and seeing. I mean, there's even that verse, and it just left my head as soon as I said that. But the one that is saying, the state of your flock, you're diligent. The diligent shepherd knows the state of their flock. And that's how we should be with our sheep. That's how God is with us too. He knows when we're sad, even if we never told him. Like, you know, and that's because he's watching, and that's us with our sheep. Like, oh, we may miss some lambing, whatever, but if you're really close to your flock, you're going to know, hey, she's getting really close. This is what's going on with her body. I need to watch her now every 2 hours. Or yeah, she's still got some time to go. And of course, with farming, you get surprises. I mean, you could be the most diligent shepherd ever, and something will surprise you, because that's life. But it's just a big part of it. And if you can get that down, you can be the best shepherd with little resources if you just watch them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the shepherd in Romania that I interviewed, you know, he'll run hundreds, if not thousands of sheep, and he can watch the whole group run by, and he can pick out the one and says, pull that one, I need to check them for, and he knows kind of within a few guesses what it is. And I was like, #goals. I mean, to have that much proficiency. You know, but now, like, when I was telling Joel South about that, I'm like, I'm a terrible shepherd. Here's what I'm comparing myself to. He's like, well, Rachel, are you like sleeping out with your sheep and traveling thousands of miles looking at nothing but sheep? And I was like, well, no. And he's like, then cut yourself some slack. I'm like, okay, well, if the master said to cut myself some slack, then I will cut myself some slack. So
exactly. And that's true. That goes with like us. We can't, I mean, you could now sleep with your sheep. That's a goal of mine, is to camp with my sheep. I'm not trying to live with them forever, but I would love to go in the open and camp with them and just to experience that. But we're not in that time anymore, at least here in the United States. And that's okay. You don't have to be at that point to be a good shepherd. You do not have to be traveling thousands of miles for 9 months to be a good shepherd. You could be a good shepherd on an acre of land, on half an acre of land. I mean, it's just you loving your sheep and tending to their needs.
Yes, absolutely. Well, somehow we're out of time. I don't know how that happens. You get two shepherdesses chatting, but we may have to have you back on the podcast, Marissa, because you have such a different setup than I do, being in the desert, whereas I'm in a more temperate climate in Kentucky. But it's just so fascinating how we can still ping pong off each other, because I mean, sheep are sheep, doesn't matter where they are in the world. But where can people find more about you?
So I am horrible at social media. I am probably the worst because I like disappear for a little while. And I'm not good at posting and taking pictures, but I'm mostly on Instagram. That's where I'm posting most of my stuff. So desert.shepherdess. I'm on that on Instagram, and I had a TikTok account I have not posted in forever, and I'm on Facebook at that name as well. But yeah, mostly Instagram. Just be prepared. I'm not one of those like constant posters, but yeah, that's where I am.
Can you repeat that? Because it cut out as soon as you said Instagram.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm mostly on Instagram. So just desert.shepherdess. That's kind of where I'm at mostly. I'm just do not expect me to don't expect somebody who's like very posting
I don't know if there's
consistently.
any shepherdesses that really embrace the influencer culture at this point, because we're too busy shepherding to really just be like, hi, I'm Rachel, I'm an influencer, so this is my sheep product that I think you all should use.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
and I love social media for that. Like I like to use Instagram as like I'm very artistic and I love photos and I love old school looking photos and I guess that's kind of where I go as far as that. But I'm just when I'm outside working, I'm not thinking of the perfect picture as I'm doing something. It's like more when I'm leisuring, I'm around the yard and I'm taking pictures, but yeah, it's hard for me to be consistent, but I am on Instagram. That's probably the best place to find me.
Yeah, and if people message you, you're pretty good about writing back. It's just you're not posting stuff per se. So, and then
Yeah.
you do have a podcast as well, correct?
Yes, so I do have a podcast. I have episodes on there. I have like 13, I think, and I want to get back onto it. It's just right now I'm focusing on the physical part of my farm. During this season, and I so bad want to be more on that podcast because there's so much I want to say and I love talking, obviously. But we're really trying to focus on the physical part of it. And I wish I could show you guys more. I just need somebody to follow me around with a camera or something because I suck at
I hear you loud and clear. Like, I feel like the last few times we've been out with the sheep, it's been like, oh, that would have been a good moment to capture for our YouTube, but it's gone now. And so we just need a cameraman to follow us everywhere we go, but we don't have that. So I understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy your podcast just because even though you are focusing on shepherding in the desert, I still learn things from your experiences and stuff. So I do hope at some point you can get back into that. I totally understand now is not the season for you to really hit that hard, but hopefully before too long you can pick that back up again.
Yes, I will. Could be because I like it, and that's something I just giving myself grace in as well.
Yes. Well, when you have a little kid like you do, that is your primary project. Everything else is just a side. So I think you have your priorities in the right place. But it's been a pleasure, as always, chatting with you, Marissa. And we will have to have you back on at some point to talk more about your very unique setup in New Mexico raising dairy sheep. So thank you for coming today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate everything you're doing here. This is wonderful, and I look up to you so much. So I'm so glad.
You.
I'm so glad for social media for bringing us together because I would have never met you, and I'm so excited to meet you this October.
Yes, we're gonna meet in person at Homesteaders of America. I cannot wait. So I will have a booth. Please stop by. That can be your ground zero when you come. And
I would love that. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate you having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the Woolly Way podcast. We hope you enjoyed our episode and have gleaned at least one tip you can implement in your flock right away. If you liked what you heard, please hit the subscribe button. And if you wouldn't mind, leave us a review. This helps others find our podcast so they can enjoy learning more about dairy sheep along with you. The Woolly Way podcast is a production of Whoopsie Daisy Farm. For updates and information about our show, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube and email list, and look us up at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com. Have a particular guest you'd like us to host or a topic you'd like us to cover? Fill out our contact form on our website or shoot us an email at whoopsiedaisyfarm@gmail.com. See you next time!